Changli is one of the most misunderstood characters in Wuthering Waves right now. Many players misuse her because they assume that she fits the sub-DPS role, when in reality, she shines the most as a quickswap DPS. If you've been using Changli incorrectly, you are losing out on a huge amount of damage potential. Many people are building her without fully understanding her kit, leading to lower damage output and inefficient team rotations. In this video, I'll break down why Changli is a quickswap DPS, not a sub DPS, how her true sight mechanics work, and how to maximize them, the best way to build her for a quickswap team, concerto energy management, and why it's crucial for her damage, why quickswap playstyle benefits her the most. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of how to build and play Changli to unlock her full potential. Reason number 1. Clearing misconceptions. Changli is a quickswap DPS, not a sub DPS. Changli's playstyle breakdown. Changli is often mistaken for a sub DPS, but here's why that's incorrect. She lacks off-field damage. Unlike traditional sub DPS units, Changli needs to be on field to contribute her burst damage. Her kit revolves around fast rotations. The more frequently you swap her in, the more true sight charges she builds, leading to stronger burst potential. She generates concerto energy quickly, making her ideal for teams that thrive on frequent resonance liberation. Let's compare Changli to other DPS options and see how she performs. Changli vs Yinlin. Yinlin is a true sub DPS because her summons deal damage even when she's off field. Changli on the other hand doesn't have lingering effects, meaning she must be actively swapped in to deal damage. Changli vs Enko. Enko benefits from longer uptime, whereas Changli's damage is best when she swapped in and out efficiently. Common mistakes and pro tips. Mistake number 1. Keeping Changli off field for too long, losing on true sight charges. Mistake number 2. Using her resonance liberation too early, missing out on damage. Tip number 1. Swap Changli in after true sight charges are built for maximum burst. Tip number 2. Use fast acting resonators like Brant or Verina to maximize her rotation. If you think that this is all Changli has to offer, then this next season will have you loading up Wuthering Waves immediately. Reason number 2. How Changli's kit works. Unlocking True Sight Charge and True Sight Conquest. Skill breakdown. Changli builds tech when using her resonance skill, marking enemies for a powerful follow-up attack. True Sight Conquest. When swapping back to Changli, she consumes stored charges to unleash a devastating burst attack. Here's why this matters in quickswap teams. The more frequently you swap her in, the more true sight charges she generates. Every time you swap back to Changli, she unleashes high burst damage. If played correctly, Changli can output consistent burst damage every rotation. Here's a comparison with Jian. Jian requires longer uptime to ramp up his damage, while Changli delivers instant burst the moment she is swapped in. Changli fits into more flexible team comps, while Jian often needs dedicated supports to sustain his DPS. Common mistakes and pro tips. Mistake number 1. Not swapping Changli in at the right time, losing out on true sight charges. Mistake number 2. Wasting her resonance liberation without maximizing charge stacks. Tip number 1. Always swap Changli in after building maximum true sight charges. Tip number 2. Learn proper swap timings to ensure constant high burst damage. Well, this is not all Changli has to offer. This next season will have you rethink if you should actually pull for Changli or not. Reason number 3. Why she is not designed for sub-DPS playstyle. What makes a good sub-DPS? A true sub-DPS should deal consistent off-field damage while the main DPS is active, have abilities that persist after swapping out like Yinlin summons. Here's why Changli doesn't fit this role. Changli's kit requires her to be active on-field to contribute damage. She relies on frequent swapping rather than dealing sustained passive damage. Common mistakes and pro tips. Mistake number 1. Trying to build her with a sub-DPS echo set instead of focusing on damage burst potential. Mistake number 2. Not utilizing her full true sight potential in team rotations. Tip number 1. Pair Changli with high damage quickswap friendly characters. Tip number 2. Build her with high burst damage echo sets. Crit damage, crit rate, attack percent instead of energy regen. Now before I get into the next reason why Changli is incredible, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you love Wuthering Waves. Reason number 4. How to do more damage in a quickswap team plus concerto energy management. Why concerto energy matters. Concerto energy allows for more frequent resonance liberations, which means more burst damage per rotation. Faster ultimates keeping Changli's damage cycle consistent. Synergizes well with high energy resonators like Brant or Verina. Let's compare Changli to Ling Yan again and see how she performs. Ling Yang requires longer charge up time while Changli excels in short burst windows. Changli fuels the team's energy faster, making her rotation smoother. Common mistakes and pro tips. Mistake number 1. Not using resonance skills frequently enough to generate concerto energy. Mistake number 2. Not pairing her with energy efficient teammates. Tip number 1. Use high energy teammates to keep the rotation smooth. Tip number 2. Optimize a build for damage bursts rather than sustain energy regeneration. Reason number 5. The benefits of Quickswap. Why Changli excels in this role. Here's why Quickswap is a meta. Faster rotations is equal to higher uptime on buffs and damage. More resonance skills per rotation is equal to more concerto energy and burst damage. Avoids wasted damage from unnecessary downtime. Here's why Changli is one of the best Quickswap resonators. Her instant burst damage on swap in makes her one of the best DPS for quick rotations. She consistently refreshes true side charges, ensuring non-stop burst combos. Synergizes well with Brant, Yin and Verina for fast-paced fights. Common mistakes and pro tips. Mistake number 1. Using Changli in a slow-paced teams that don't take advantage of Quickswap mechanics. Mistake number 2. Building her for sustained DPS rather than burst damage. Tip number 1. Use fast-acting resonators like Brant to keep fights fast-paced. Tip number 2. Prioritize electro damage percent, crit rate and attack percent over energy regen. Now that you know how incredible Changli can be, it's of no use if you don't build Changli right. So here's the best way to build Changli. Changli build guide, the best weapons, echoes and stats. Let's begin with weapons. Best weapons for Changli. Her first in slot is her signature weapon, Blazing Brilliance. This is the best in slot, provides high fusion damage and crit damage. Second best is Emerald of Genesis, a strong alternative that boosts energy regeneration. Moving on to 4-star option, Commando of Conviction is the best 4-star as it is good for high burst setups. Second option is Endless Collapse, decent for increasing damage output. Third option is Luna Cutter, viable for crit based builds. Here are the best echoes for Changli. Molten Reef, this is the best in slot as it maximizes fusion damage, boosting her burst potential. Her second best choice is Moonlight Clouds, works well for concerto energy generation. Here are the best stats for Changli. For 4 cost echo, crit rate or crit damage depending on what you are lacking. For 3 cost echo, if you have Blazing Brilliance, go for attack percent and fusion damage bonus. If you are using a 4-star weapon, go for double damage bonus. 1 cost echo, attack and attack percent. Here are Changli's best talent priorities. Priority order, resonance skill, most important because true sight charge and conquest scale of it. Forte circuit, it increases her burst potential. And third is resonance liberation, final priority. Here are Changli's best sequences. Which ones are worth getting? Sequences are one of the best ways to increase Changli's damage, especially if you plan on investing heavily in her. While Changli performs well even at S0, her performance improves significantly with certain sequences that enhance her true sight mechanics and burst potential. Here are the recommended sequences for Changli. Sequence 1. For S1, the most important sequence. The effect is it improves her true sight charge gain rate and increases her resonance skill damage. Why it's good? This sequence allows faster energy generation, meaning she can cycle through her true side conquest faster, making her an even stronger burst DPS. Impact. If you can get any one sequence, this is the best option since it makes her damage more consistent in Quickswap teams. For S3, Resonance Skill Damage Boost. Effect. Buffs her resonance skill damage by a significant amount, further enhancing her true sight mechanics. Why it's good? Changli relies heavily on her resonance skill to stack true sight charges, so this sequence directly increases her damage output. Impact. This sequence makes her rotation smoother and increases her burst potential. Her last best sequence, S5, Resonance Liberation Enhancement. Effect. It increases her resonance liberation damage, scaling and adds additional effects. Here's why it's good. This sequence is a huge buff to her burst damage when swapping back in, making her hit even harder during her main DPS window. The impact is it allows Changli to compete with top tier burst DPS units, making her feel even stronger. For other sequences S2, S4 and S6, are they really worth it? For S2, it increases her attack speed and fluidity, but is not as crucial as S1, S3 or S5. Sequence 4 gives her minor survivability buffs, but she doesn't need them if played properly. Her sequence S6 is strong but not necessary unless you are going all in on her. Optimal sequence investment S1, S3 and S5 should be your focus if you are going for high damage output. If you want maximum Changli performance, going up to S6 is viable but not necessary. Here are Changli's best teams and why they work. Changli thrives in a quickswap teams that let her build true sight charges efficiently. She pairs best with units that provide energy, buffs or fast swap capabilities. Here are 5 of the strongest team compositions for Changli and why they work. First one is Verina plus Changli plus Changli Yao, healing and fusion damage buffs. Here's why this team works best. Verina provides healing and attack buffs, ensuring Changli stays alive and deals more damage. Xiangli Yao provides fusion damage buffs and strong energy regeneration to keep Changli's burst consistent. How to play this team? Start with Xiangli Yao to buff fusion damage. Swap to Verina for healing and energy regeneration. Swap to Changli and unleash a resonance skill plus liberation for maximum burst damage. Second best team is Verina plus Changli plus Chixi. Explosive fusion damage setup. Here's why this team works. Chixi provides off-field fusion damage which complements Changli's on-field burst. Verina ensures Changli stays alive and buffs the team's overall damage. Here's how to play this team. Start with Chixi to apply fusion damage bonuses. Swap to Verina and heal and provide buffs. Swap to Changli for Quickswap burst combos. Here's when to use this team. If you want a strong fusion DPS team that takes advantage of Changli's burst damage. Third best team is Changli plus Verina plus Havoc Rover. High damage burst team. Here's why this team works. Havoc Rover adds strong multipliers and burst potential. Verina provides consistent healing and buffs. This team is very flexible and can work in multiple scenarios. Here's how you play this team. Use Havoc Rover to apply damage buffs. Swap to Verina for healing and Concerto energy management. Swap to Changli to unleash a burst rotation. You want to use this team if you want a more offensive Changli setup without sacrificing too much survivability. Fourth best team on the list is Verina plus Changli plus Culcharo. Electro and fusion damage synergy. The reason this team works well is Culcharo provides off-field electro damage, making a fusion combo when Changli is on-field. Verina as usual keeps the team alive and buffs Changli's output. The way you play this team is by swap to Verina for buffs and healing. Swap to Changli for burst damage. Here's when you want to use this team. If you want Electro Fusion synergy to deal consistent elemental damage. Last team on the list is Changli plus Brant plus Verina. Ultimate Quickswap setup. The reason this team works well is because Brant provides additional fusion damage synergy and Quickswap potential. Verina makes the team more sustainable and provides Concerto energy. Here's how you play this team. Use Brant's skill to buff fusion damage. Swap to Verina and heal and generate energy. Swap to Changli and unleash her strongest resonance skills and liberations. You want to use this team if you want a high speed rotation team that keeps Changli's burst damage flowing constantly. And that wraps up everything you need to know about building and playing Changli properly in Wuthering Waves. To summarize, Changli is a Quickswap DPS, not a Sub-DPS. She thrives in teams that let her cycle through side charges quickly rather than staying on field too long. Her best weapons and echoes, Blazing Brilliance is her best in slot, but Emerald of Genesis and Command of Conviction are great alternatives. Molten Reef is the best echo set. Talent priorities, Resonance Skill, Forte Circuit, Resonance Liberation for maximum damage. Best teams. Pair her with Verina, Brant, Xiangli Yao, Chixi, Culcharo or Havoc Rover for high damage rotations. Sequences. If you are investing in her, S1, S3 and S5 provide the biggest boost to her performance. Want to improve your Changli's gameplay even further? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. If you found this guide helpful, drop a like and consider subscribing for more meta guides and advanced gameplay tips. This has been Victory Gladiators and I'll catch you in the next one. Happy gaming. If you like this video, you'll love this one where I break down everything that makes Brant the most versatile character in Wuthering Waves.